You're looking to buy a camera to start making content this year, but with so many different options out there, it's tough to know which one's actually worth your money. So in this video, I'll break it down and highlight some of our favorite cameras that we've actually used so you can confidently choose which camera fits your needs and budget.
You gotta just press record.
Hey, what's up? Nate here with Think Media. Now we get asked the question all the time, what is the best camera for YouTube if I want to start making videos this year? And really, there are a couple different factors I would consider when trying to buy a camera specifically for making YouTube content. And number one is you want a camera that's going to be easy to use. That way you can just focus on creating content. So having features like autofocus, having a flip out screen or a screen so you can see yourself is all going to be very helpful when you are making YouTube videos. And second is the ability to shoot at least 4K video. Now we want to make sure we have a really high quality image file to work with. With that being said, I broke this video down into a few different categories depending on each camera we talk about. And in our first category, we'll be discussing travel and vlog cameras. Which brings me to my first recommended camera for travel, and that is the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. This thing is incredible not only because it's small, but it's also extremely rugged. This thing is meant to be abused and thrown in different environments, and I'd rather use a camera that I know is extremely rugged rather than putting my expensive camera in those precarious situations. Not only that, this camera is very easy to use thanks to its big touchscreen on the back. I can adjust settings very quickly and intuitively. There's also a screen up front that I can use to view myself, frame myself in the shot without having to guess where I'm positioned in the frame. So having a little feature like that is so incredible and allows me to make sure I know I'm getting the shot. So this camera is super convenient, but it also has some really great image quality. And right now you can see just how great of an image this little camera can pack into it. Overall, I'm really impressed with the image quality, but it has some really impressive features that just also make it easy to use. Number one, there is this feature called horizon balance. So if I were to rotate my camera up to 45 degrees, it keeps my video nice and level, which is perfect if you're filming yourself. Maybe you don't have it perfectly level. It's going to do that all for you, and it has incredible smooth stabilization. So it's going to make sure that as you're filming, you're going to not get all those shakes and jitters in your footage. Another great feature that makes this a great vlogging camera is its battery life. You can shoot on one battery for around 3 to 4 hours, which can sometimes last me a full day on one charge. But if you pick up this Adventure combo pack, you can actually swap out for one of these batteries in this nice charging case. So really you can be shooting for maybe a whole week without having to really worry about battery life. I can go on and on about the different features about this camera, like its built-in storage. So if you forget your SD card, you can still be able to record videos, which is a huge game changer, a huge lifesaver. In terms of price point, this camera comes in at $350 brand new. I've actually seen some deals for it even less, so I'll leave links in the description to this camera and all the gear mentioned in this video down below for you to check out. Now there's one more camera that I recommend if you are looking for a travel or for a vlogging camera, and that is the Osmo Pocket 3. And this camera is crazy popular, and really it boils down to its unique gimbal design. So because of this built-in gimbal design, it's going to counteract any of your shakes you might have when you're filming with it and give your footage a nice cinematic feel. So this not only is going to look great if you are filming yourself, but if you're filming your environment, the things around you, it just opens up the door to get a lot of creative and smooth angles that you wouldn't be able to do with a traditional camera. Now recently I did a video where I compared the Action 5 Pro to the Pocket 3, and really the difference between these two guys is the image quality. They just look a little bit different, and that's thanks to the Pocket 3 larger sensor, which is going to give you a little bit blurrier of a background. I find this to be most notable if I am filming myself. It kind of creates a nice blurred background to my videos and helps separate you from your background. And I think that gives it a nice professional look to your videos, whereas in comparison to an action cam, it kind of has that traditional GoPro look. Maybe it's a little bit over sharpened. The Pocket 3 definitely has a noticeable improvement in terms of image quality. So yes, the Pocket 3 has great image quality, but it's also really easy to use. DJI has great menus that is very intuitive. Even if you are a beginner, you're able to adjust settings quickly. And perhaps one of my favorite features that both the Pocket 3 and the Action 5 Pro have is the ability to connect wireless microphones to the cameras. So both of these cameras have a built-in receiver. So all you gotta do is buy a little DJI mic transmitter, either the DJI Mic 2 or the DJI Mic Mini, and you can connect up to 2 different microphones to either of these cameras. So if you had one for you, one for your guest, that is a great and so easy way to get great audio for your video. In terms of price point, the DJI Pocket 3 costs $520. You could spend a little bit more money if you want to get the creator combo, which comes with accessories like the DJI Mic 2 and also tripods and little things that really make this a more well-rounded kit. That costs around $670, so a little bit more expensive than the Action 5 Pro, but I do think both of these cameras make fantastic travel/vlog cameras. Moving on to the next category, we're going to be discussing some entry-level mirrorless cameras. I kind of decided to keep the price point under $1,000 for this category. The mirrorless camera that I recommend for someone who is looking to start making content, maybe this is their first mirrorless camera, it is the Sony ZV-E10, and this camera checks off a lot of the boxes. We have been recommending this for years here at Think Media, and there is good reason why. Number one, it has the ability to shoot 4K video, so you're gonna get a really sharp looking image. It has a very large sensor, which is going to be helpful if you are trying to get a blurry background in your videos or when you are shooting in lower light conditions. This camera also has a flip out screen, which is incredibly useful if you are filming yourself. You can see what your settings are and actually see if you're in frame. So definitely recommended to have a flip out screen. And the third feature that makes this a great camera if you're filming videos of yourself is autofocus. Having a camera that has good and reliable autofocus performance is going to actually save you a lot of time and headaches. Like I mentioned earlier, this camera is a few years old, and that has some pros and cons. Number one is that there are more cameras out there that have better looking colors when it comes to shooting video. This camera is limited to what we call 8-bit video, which means you don't have a lot of flexibility if you are going to be color grading your videos. This camera also has the older style of Sony menus, which can be a little bit confusing, especially if you are a beginner. It's hard to follow along. But the benefits of it being an older camera means that you can actually find this camera for an absolute bargain. New, this camera costs around $600 to $700 depending on when you buy it. So this is a great option if you are starting out and you don't need all the bells and whistles. This camera is going to get you started and you're able to make great looking videos. Now, if you have a little bit more money to invest into a camera and want a few more upgrades when it comes to better looking videos, then I would recommend the Sony ZV-10 Mark II. Now, these cameras, of course, are quite similar, but where the ZV-E10 Mark II shines is its ability to shoot 10-bit video. Simply put, 10-bit means that you have more information to really color grade your videos and get it exactly where you want it. This is definitely going to be a lot easier than trying to do it with an 8-bit video like on the ZV-10. Also note that the colors on the ZV-10 Mark II look a little bit better in my opinion, even if you decide not to color grade your videos, and that's thanks to its upgraded sensor. This camera shares the exact same sensor that's found in some of Sony's other cameras like the A6700 and the FX30, both of which have great looking video quality, and you're getting the exact same look in this camera. So we talked about a lot of different improvements from the ZV-10 to the Mark II. There is one potential downside with this camera, and that is overheating.
Regarding overheating,
internal temperature too high.
The camera overheated every 20 to 25 minutes.
So I've noticed when I personally use this camera that it just runs a bit hotter than compared to the Mark I, especially if you're shooting a long time or if you're filming outdoors on a really sunny day, it just feels much warmer. And the risk of overheating is that the camera could potentially stop recording and shut off when you don't want it to. Now, if that sounds a little bit scary to you, do keep in mind, the only time I've really ever had it overheat was when I was shooting 4K 60 for an hour long, and really, I don't find myself using a camera like that. That being said though, if you do want to make sure that overheating is not an issue, there are some things you can do to improve that so it's less likely to happen. The first of which is you can actually buy a cooling fan. This one is made by Ulanzi and actually will just kind of spring load onto the back of the camera, and you can charge this off of USB-C, and this will cool down your camera. So if you happen to be using it in very long recording sessions, this could be a nice little upgrade to make sure that your camera is nice and cool. And I get that this may not be the best solution for you, but if you want to have the reassurance and the peace of mind of having a camera and not having that overheating concern, then take a look at this next camera. The Sony FX30 is pretty much the same camera as the ZV-E10 Mark II in terms of video quality. Where it differs is in its body design. The body has a much more rugged metal design and even has a built-in fan to make sure the camera stays nice and cool. And this will give you the peace of mind that you can really record hours at a time and never have the camera overheat on you. And that camera also has more professional accessories like the XLR top handle that you can screw on to the FX30. And having this mounted onto your camera not only provides a nice grip to hold your camera, but also 2 XLR inputs. This will allow you to plug in professional XLR microphones straight into your camera. That way your video and audio is perfectly in sync. And this really makes it a nice kit to have if you are shooting both video and are concerned about having great audio. Another reason why you might want to choose the FX30 or even the A6700 over the ZV-10 Mark II is it has an in-body image stabilization. So if you film a lot of handheld or vlogging yourself, this will help counteract those shakes as well and give you a smoother shot. And I actually find IBIS to be incredibly useful because even if you are handheld on these really lightweight cameras, you'll get a lot of different shakes and it just doesn't look good. Now these additional pro features will cost you, it is $1,800 for just the body of the FX30, which is a significant jump from the ZV-10 and the ZV-10 Mark II. So it does have to definitely be worth it to you if you want that peace of mind. Honestly, I wish that the ZV-10 Mark II had this in-body image stabilization. So that's another reason why you might want the FX30. So far, the mirrorless cameras that we mentioned are APS-C size sensors, which can be really nice if you are looking for some affordable lenses. However, if you do want to take your image quality to the next level, then you really want to look out for full frame cameras. A full frame sensor is going to let in more light into your camera, and that is going to be better for low light performance and give you an even shallower depth of field, making your background a bit more blurry. So that brings me to my first full frame recommendation, and that is the Sony ZV-E1. So the E1 is kind of like the ZV-E10, although it has a full frame sensor. Another thing that the ZV-E1 has over the ZV-10 and Mark II is the fact that it does have in-body image stabilization. And this is so worth it in my opinion, because even if you're filming yourself or even filming handheld, it's going to be much more usable to use and more stable. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to use the ZV-E1 is the fact that it actually shares the same sensor as the A7S III and the FX3. I've used the Sony A7S III from when it first came out, and I'm actually shooting this video with the A7S III, so you can kind of judge the image quality. And I really just like the way this video looks. It has a nice organic feel where it doesn't feel over sharpened in a way. And these cameras can also shoot 10-bit, so you can do a lot of different color grading and really get a great looking image. In fact, I've used the A7S III for a bunch of different projects, not just YouTube. I used it to shoot documentaries, music videos, short films, weddings, and it works for every single one of those really well. And that transfers into the ZV-E1, but in a much simpler, content creation friendly design. So in many ways, the E1 is just as good as my A7S III or even better, but it's also a fraction of the price. This camera new costs $2,200 for the body only, and that is significantly cheaper than the $3,500 that the A7S III cost me. Overall, I think the Sony ZV-E1 is such an underrated camera thanks to its good price to performance ratio. It's just a great bang for your buck. But if you're looking for the best of the best full frame camera for shooting YouTube videos, then let me introduce you to the Sony FX3. The FX3 is going to stand out in the same way that the FX30 does. It has a much more professional build design. It has an internal fan. It also has the ability, and includes the XLR top handle, which can be so great if you are doing podcasts, talking head videos, anytime when you want to plug in a professional XLR microphone. And if you need more reassurance of the image quality of the FX3, the movie The Creator was shot largely with the Sony FX3 because it is such a small camera, has great low light performance, and really is a testament to the professionalism of that camera. Now, of course, the FX3 is going to cost a pretty penny at $3,900 brand new. Again, that's pretty significant from the ZVE1, which again shares the exact same image quality, just in a different body with a few different menu changes. Honestly, the Sony FX3 is one of the best cameras you can buy if you are taking your content creation very seriously. Now, I do want to mention that all these cameras, I am focused on video, but if you're someone who does both photography or video, we call that like a hybrid shooter, then I would look at the Sony a7C II. It's very similar in terms of the compactness of the ZVE1, but you get things like a viewfinder for shooting outdoors, framing up your shot, and is much more catered for doing both photo as it has a higher resolution sensor. All right, so we covered a lot of different cameras, and you still might be wondering what is the best camera for your specific needs. Well, if you are someone who is traveling and maybe has a little bit of money, I would say the Pocket 3 is definitely a great camera. You can just do so much with it and be very creative thanks to its gimbal design. Now, if you're someone who wants a more simple camera, maybe not too familiar with how to shoot video, and just want something very easy to use, the Action 5 Pro honestly has surprised me a lot. It's just so easy to use and you get a great looking shot, and it only costs $350. If you're someone who does more talking head videos or podcasts, the Sony ZVE10 is such a great camera. You can use it as a webcam for your computer by picking up an HDMI capture card. This camera is going to get you started and you're able to make great looking videos. Now, if you do exactly the same thing, but you just want a little bit better image quality and the ability to color grade, the Sony ZV-10 Mark II is great because it only costs a couple $100 extra and you get much more features. But if you really need a true workhorse of a camera, I highly recommend stepping up to the FX30 with its professional build, the internal fan, and that in-body image stabilization. But if you're like me and you shoot a lot of YouTube videos either in your room or in your studio or even vlogging, then the ZVE1 is such a great value. It has such great image quality, and the fact that it only costs $2,200 new, I think is worth it. Of course, if you just got money to burn and you're looking for the best of the best, of course the FX3 is going to be the camera for you. But I will mention though, just to caveat this, if you are looking for a camera in 2025, there could be some cameras that Sony may release. And if you are looking to invest a lot in a camera, it could be worth just waiting out on what Sony has next. But until then, these are some of the best YouTube cameras you can buy if you want to get started making content this year. Let me know in the comments down below which camera you would pick up and why. And if you are on a budget, let's say you only have $300 to spend on a camera, then be sure to check out this video where I show 5 different cameras under $300. I think that video will be definitely valuable to you.